Hey everybody, this is Jason Akers with Green Acres Pest Control. And tonight we're going to basically take questions from the live stream and I'm going to try to answer your questions as best as I can. I apologize for Friday night. I've been really busy through the week, and so I just haven't had a lot of time on Fridays to be able to come on live in the evenings. So I've actually rearranged my schedule a little bit, and so on Saturday nights we're going to do the bedbug show rather than on Fridays. I feel like Saturday is easier for me to make it. I'm still a little late tonight. It's about 10:15, 10:20, and I'm going to try to get on at 10 o'clock in the evenings, and you'll have to forgive me if you have any background noise or anything like that because my kids are watching Jurassic Park. So anyway, I didn't figure on very many people showing up tonight because it is kind of out of routine, being that we're doing it on a Saturday rather than a Friday. But I wanted to go over a little bit tonight on how do you want to if you are subscribed to my channel. This is a pretty important feature of YouTube. If you want to catch me live, if I know I changed my day and normally I try to be here on Friday nights, but if you subscribe to me and hit the little notification bell, then that will help you be able to catch me when I go live because I know it's an odd day. It's not on a normal schedule. But from now on, with all of my traveling with the bedbug jobs I do statewide and everything, it's just easier for me to be able to do it on a Saturday night for my live streams. Uh, so anyway, like I said, we're going to basically go over any questions that come in the chat tonight. That's what we're going to go over. Not really sure what I want to talk about. Don't really have a whole lot on my mind that I've really that I haven't already answered on my videos or my live streams already when it comes to bed bugs. I know we're coming up on springtime. A lot of different things come in the house in the spring, like ants, spiders, wasps, bees, flies, things like that. So if you have any other questions other than things about bed bugs, you're more than happy to. I mean, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Anything you might want to ask me. Coming up on termite season, and we're going to have a lot of termites swarming here in the next few months because typically they do swarm after March. So and there my daughter's reading Green Eggs and Ham. I tried to get her not to read that before I started my live stream because it really kind of messes with my with my train of thought. But anyway, so if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask. I may not be able to stay on very late tonight if I don't get any questions. I'm really not sure what I'm going to talk about. I had, I've had a lot of ideas. I've had a lot of things I was going to go over with my regular videos. Hey, James, I'm doing all right. How are you doing today? How did I get into pest control? Uh, well, when I was, my dad started his company in 1985, and I was born in 1981. And so I've worked with my father from the time I was 7 through the summer. Whenever school would be out, I would work with him to help him with his route days. And then during when I turned 12, uh, the school system here, the local school system here is pretty bad. And so my parents took me out and began homeschooling me in the 8th grade on, and graduated homeschool in the 12th grade. And so I never really went to high school or anything like that except to get my learners, my driver's license, and things like that. But I worked with my father pretty much all the time once I turned 12 and I came out of public school. And then by the time I was 17, I had my own pest control route. He had a guy that used to work with him, and when he quit, I took over his entire route. So I've had a pest control route from the time I was 17. That's how long I've been licensed in the state of Virginia. And now I'm 36 and I've got my own company. So yeah, I really enjoy pest control. A lot of people wonder why I would still do it. You know, now that I've got my own business, I could do anything I want, but I really, really enjoy pest control. It's what I've grown up doing. It's what I really enjoy. So that's why I'm doing pest control, Greg. If that answered your question, that's what got me into it. Basically, just grew up doing it my whole life. I really like reading about all kinds of different insects and bugs. I do a lot of research. I've had, for customers and things, I've had people ask me questions. If I don't understand the answer, I go and I do my research, especially when bed bugs first started becoming a problem here in Virginia. I went and I read about them. Same with the ladybugs and the stink bugs and the different things that we have here in Virginia. So yeah, that's pretty cool, Greg. Yeah, sounds like we had a lot of the same upbringing, you and I. But thing is, back in the mid '80s, there was a downturn in the economy, and that's when a lot of pest control businesses and other things, smaller businesses and stuff, sprouted up a lot around that time because of the. It was like a mild recession, and it really did push a lot of people to start their own company because it's about the only way you could really make a living back then, and it's kind of like that now. I feel like that's why I really kind of had to start my own business is because of the recession we've been dealing with here for the last 3 or 4 years. It's really there's really no other option but to and I still worked with my father too up until about last year, helping him in anything he needed help with. But I had my own business as well for the last 2 years. I've been running my own company. So um, but yeah, I really like pest control. I enjoy it. I find insects and arachnids and all the different bugs and stuff. I find them just very fascinating. I try to learn everything I can about them. Don't think I could handle being an entomologist because I don't think I'd like a desk job, sitting behind a desk all day just looking at bugs in a microscope. That doesn't sound fun to me. I really like kind of going out and meeting with people and talking with people. Hey Jason, I've performed a few carpet beetle treatments over the last couple of months. Have you seen an influx in your area? Not any more than usual. You'll have a carpet beetle job every so often. I think I get them here in my home. It just really depends on the house, and on if you get carpet beetles. I've had a couple of carpet beetle jobs over the last few months, but not any more than usual. And no, I don't have any employees, Greg. I have problems trusting people. I have a certain standard that I hold myself at, and uh, now my son, he works with me. He helps with me. If I need like a bed bug job, need help on a bed bug job or something like that, or termites, I'll take him with me. He'll go with me and help me drill and stuff like that. But other than that, I really don't have any employees at all. Just me. I'm just the only one that does anything. So, but yeah, Jonathan, I haven't really had very many influx, not an influx of carpet beetle. It is coming up on the season though with the warm weather. You'll notice a lot of things coming in the house, and it's not really so much as a, like a heavy influx or whatever. It's more just, that's just the season. Yeah, I try to explain that to people that when it comes to bugs, bugs really don't die in the winter. They just wait for the spring, and then as soon as it gets warm, they come out and they start bothering people again. So I was reading an article, and if I can pull it up, I think I'd like to start doing that when I run my live streams. I think I'd like to pull up a few articles here and there and actually go over a couple of things, like kind of like more like I guess like a podcast kind of, where we go over different things happening around the globe. They there actually was a pest control company that not a pest control company. I'm sorry. It was a landlord and a tenant. The tenant actually sued the landlord and won a $300,000 lawsuit just within the last couple of weeks over bed bugs. I was reading an article about that the other day. I think I'm going to start saving my articles I read and share them over my live streams too, so you guys can get a better feel of what's been going on in the industry. But Greg said that's good. We keep it small to only have 2 employees. One is a deacon of our church, about to hire a third employee after 33 years. Well, that's great, Greg. So I guess you're still working with your dad on your dad's company then, or do you run your dad's company? Wow, we got 9 people watching the stream tonight. My daughter really likes green eggs and ham. If you can hear her, I don't know if y'all can hear her or not. She's not listening because she knows I'm doing a live stream and she's not gonna get hollered at or anything because I'm on a live stream. I gotta hold my composure. I don't know if you guys can hear her or not. Well, that's good, Greg. Oh, you're young then. Yeah, see, Well, see, Emma, y'all just come over here and sit right beside me. No, the landlord lost. The tenant won a $300,000 lawsuit against the landlord. The landlord actually lost the lawsuit. Let me see if I can pull it up. Over bed bugs. Let's see. Yeah, landlord forced to pay tenant $300,000 for bedbug infestation. Yeah, it was the New York Post. It came in on the New York Post. Let me see if I can share. I don't know. I don't think I have. Let me see if I can pull this up. I didn't really plan. I've had a really hard time getting my live streams done on time. So let's see if, because I've been so busy. Hey, Jody Lynn. Jody Lynn Plays. Do you do my play or whatever? Play, what are they called? Let's Plays. I'm guessing that from your name that you do Let's Plays. Let's see here. I did a bed bug job yesterday. Tenant had bed bugs, complained to the landlord. Landlord hired us to treat. See, that's the way most landlords should be, honestly. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, my daughter, she's a happy child. Let's see, is this the right window? It's not picking up my window. Hold on. Let me see if I can pick up. Let me close this one down. Whoa, whoa, check that out. That's not what I wanted. There we go. All right. And I want to take the chat because that's easy to read. Sorry, y'all. Trying to kind of set this up a little bit. There we go. That way I can see you guys talking and I don't need to want to look at a bunch of ads. So, landlord forced to pay tenant $300,000 for bedbug infestation. And we've got the whole city will be itching for payouts like this. A Bushwick tenant scored a fat $300,000 judgment against his landlord over bedbug infestation because the owner ignored repeated requests to help him get rid of the creepy crawlers, his landlord said Friday. Louis Cotto, 35, filed a lawsuit on January 23rd against his landlord. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name right there. Mr. Jackson. Let's just say Mr. Jackson, claiming that there had been bed bugs problems in his apartment on Willoughby Avenue near Evergreen Avenue since August of 2015. So the point is that the guy had been continuously complaining to the landlord that the bed bugs were getting worse and worse, and no one was doing anything about it, and he couldn't afford to get rid of them himself. So he sued the landlord, and he won. So that does happen. Let's see. Is there a right or a wrong way to use granulars to treat ant mounds? Well, it depends on what you mean by granules, David. Granular insecticide or granular bait, because there's two different ways you treat. If you're using like a granulated insecticide, then you would treat do like a yard treatment and you'd treat the yard. But if it were like in a mound using bait, I would guess it just depends on your labels on how you would kill the mound. I usually don't treat the mounds if they're in the ground because the problem with treating ant mounds in the ground is ant lives underground. They can come up and make a new mound somewhere else. And that's why you want to do a general treatment of the whole yard using like granular insecticide, put it in like a lawn spreader or something like that. And that way you get even coverage. So if the ants try to come up and build a mound elsewhere in the yard, they die. And I know that fire ants are really bad for that. If you're treating an area and you treat the actual mound itself, you'll actually scare the fire ants, and where they were over here, now they're over here. So you'll want to do a broad treatment with ants. But I'm real iffy about ant bait. I went over I had a really good description last week on the live stream I did about ant baiting and why baiting is not as effective on ants as it is to like cockroaches and things like that. And so if you want to go back and look at that video, I answer a lot of questions about ant baiting. But Greg says, do you use a backpack sprayer? We use the Pest Pro 2, and the only thing that I use a backpack sprayer for. Now, I don't use a backpack sprayer for general pest control. I find that the B&G is just a really rounded tool, really easy to handle, doesn't weigh too much. And so that's what I've grown up using, and that's what I use. But I do use a backpack sprayer when it comes to band treatment for like using like a Boracare type treatment on the band of a home. It's really easy to use it. And for understructures, for things like powder post beetles and wood borers, I do use a backpack sprayer for that, because you can hold about 3 to 5 gallons in a backpack, where your B&G is only going to hold 1 gallon. You got to continuously refill it. So, but now if it's a real tight crawl space, I don't even use a backpack sprayer. That I've got an actual you know, a battery operated, the little pumps with the 40-gallon tank or whatever. But I typically use like a 5 or a 10-gallon tank for treatment of you know, understructures for powder post beetles and wood borers. Okay, so Jonathan retracted his message. Not really sure what he asked. Greg, top choice is what we use for fire ants. Best stuff to use, but expensive. Well, see, we don't have fire ants in Virginia, because the frost line, when you take the frost line, is so shallow in Virginia. We don't really deal with, I mean, not shallow, it's 18 inches deep. So we don't really deal with a lot of fire ants in Virginia. I don't think they'll ever come into Virginia. They're mostly down in areas like, I think, North Carolina. Southern North Carolina is the furthest north they've made it. Down around now South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, places like that get fire ants really bad. So we don't really deal with them here a lot. But I just know from experience that I have a lot of friends who live in Myrtle Beach, and they have a lot of problems with fire ants in their yard. And when if you don't treat their entire yard, then the fire ants do spring up in other places. James says, I would hire you for a second if you lived here. Well, thank you, James. Yeah. So, let's see. Also, I wanted to mention that during the week, when I'm doing, if you have any questions at all that you want to ask me, I have a Twitter that I check pretty regularly. You can tweet questions to me. You can also use my Facebook Messenger. I accept messages through Facebook on Green Acres Pest Control LLC. If you want to stay, you know, to where nobody knows you, anonymous, where nobody knows who you are, you can send messages on my Facebook Messenger. I won't tell anybody your name. And that way I can go over it on my live streams like this. If you want to check it out, like I said, I do live streams live on Saturday. Now Saturday, where it was Friday nights, I'm gonna try to do it on a Saturday night. I usually take off over weekends anyway, so it's easier for me to be on the air on Saturday night live, so I can answer your questions. So if you have any other questions like that, you can even ask live during the show, and I'll get a message that'll come up, and I can answer your questions. Jonathan Springfellow, chat was messing up. Entice is good for roaches. We use Top Choice in Alabama for fire ants. Works great. James says, when I hire my dude, what are the chemicals he should be using? And tell me, please, then I know I do. Okay, the thing is, James, it depends on where you live and what your exterminator's using. I'm not going to tell your exterminator what he should and shouldn't use. There are different pesticides for different problems, and you can't really judge a pest control technician by the chemicals that he chooses. It's not about the chemical, it's about the application. If you put the chemical where it needs to go and you do the job right, usually you're going to take care of the problem as long as the pest is labeled on the label for that, specific pest. Um, there's a lot of different chemicals on the market. There are literally, 20, 30, 40 different chemicals you could probably pick from to use in your home. And so I don't want to tell you that if he doesn't use this, he's no good, because that's actually not true. Like here, Jonathan's talking about how he uses Entice for roaches. I've never used Entice. I use other roach baits, and he uses Top Choice for fire ants. So we don't have fire ants here, so I can't tell you that what Jonathan's doing is wrong, because, well, for one, we don't have fire ants, and baiting it for roaches there's an art in baiting for roaches. You can get combat gel bait at Walmart to kill roaches if you do it right. So it's really the way that you apply the chemical, not what you're using, that's going to do the job right. So I'm sorry if I can't, tell you any better than that, but typically what I recommend people do when it comes to pest control technician, if you call your company and just ask a lot of questions. If they're dodgy, they don't want to answer your questions, they want to be, don't want to, most exterminators don't mind answering questions. I don't mind answering questions. Our field isn't just about eliminating your problem. It's also about proper proper education, proper, you have to teach your customer. If someone calls me on a flea job and I go out and I'm going to kill their fleas, I want to explain to them, well, that the hatch rate is like 21 days. I want to explain to them that you may get bit for up to 21 days because fleas go into cocoon stage. And so you educate your customer when you come out and do the job so that they don't get the wrong expectation on the way the chemical should work. And so just ask a lot of questions. They'll have the answers for you. That's, if they're decent and they know what they're doing, they'll be able to answer your question. And so that's what I say. And that's not really, based on the life of the business either. I've been in the business for 29 years, but I've only owned my own business for 2 years. So I have a pretty, by business standards, I have a really young business, but I've been in the pest control industry for 29 years. So you can't go by the age of the company either on whether you're going to get a decent, exterminator or not. You really need someone who's knowledgeable, who knows what they're doing. So that's what I would recommend you do. Let's see. Greg says backpack sprayer because it looks more professional. I have neighbors ask for business card during service. Yeah, I have a lot of people that ask me for my cards too, when they see me. But I do several rounds around the house too when it comes to outdoor treatments. I use granules and I do lots of different things too, but I'm pretty thorough in what I do. James, do you have a receipt from him? Okay, so that's for a question for James. Sandra says, I was getting bitten by something a few years back. Oh, and two, Greg, just flashed into my head. You know what I think of when I see an exterminator using a backpack sprayer? John Goodman. That's what I think of. If you ever see arachnophobia, John Goodman used a backpack sprayer. That's every time I see somebody with a backpack sprayer, that's what I think of as John Goodman. Or Ghostbusters. But just do what? I don't think that's a bad thing. John Goodman's a pretty cool guy. But anyway, Sandra says, I was getting bitten by something a few years back in the bed. I sprayed the bed and was okay. This past year, we had a bad case of bed bugs. Can they stay dormant and go unit to unit? Yes. Bed bugs can travel from unit to unit. I take my wallet out of my pocket. That's hurt my... bed bugs can go from unit to unit. They can lay dormant for 18 months. There was a scientist, I really wish I had... I'm going to have to stop saying it because I haven't been able to find the article. But it's been a couple years ago when bedbugs first became a real serious problem again in the United States. There was a scientist that had done some research on bedbugs and was able to get them to live for 3 years without a blood meal. So there is a possibility in lab results where lab results have found them being able to live for longer than 18 months. But out in the field, when it comes to your home, the overall consensus is about a year to 18 months they can live without a blood meal. So it is possible that if you abandon your house for a couple months and then you come back, the bed bugs they'll still be there and they'll just start biting you again. So yes, and one thing too about this going unit to unit, a lot of times with bed bugs, they will travel if you treat. So if you treat, depending on what you treat with, you can actually chase the bed bugs from one room to another. And in older apartment complexes, and even some newer apartment complexes, if they're made cheaply, the bugs will travel through the wall socket. So what they'll do is you'll be treating like your bedrooms. And typically in an apartment building, your bedrooms are back to back with another unit's bedroom. And so what happens is when you treat those areas, the bed bugs will run away from the chemical and they'll go up into the wall void around like your outlet plugs, light sockets and places like that, light switches and stuff. And they go through the wall. And once they're in your wall void, they will travel wires just like mice will. They'll travel your wires and they'll go into other units that way. So, and thank you, David, for the $2. I want to just say that real quick. Thank you. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so I hope that answered your question, Sandra. If you have any other, if you need me to expound upon it more, then just ask. David said, entice is good for American roaches. Yes, see, we don't really have a lot of American roaches here. You have to have the really right place for them to live to have those. Around the perimeter of a structure, broadcast application, but it also takes care of a lot of other pests in the ground. Yeah, that's true. You'll help with not mice, spiders, crickets, especially this time of year because we're coming up on springtime. Oh, I'm just uncomfortable in this chair. I need to get me a better chair. Yeah, in the springtime, you'll have a your roaches, oriental cockroaches and things will start hatching out. Especially mulch beds. I can't stress to people enough. You really want to try to keep your mulch away from the house. That's the one thing that's really hard to get people away from is mulching around the house. I ought to do a video about mulching. I've never done one before. I think I might have a Monday video planned, and I'll do a mulch bed video. But the thing is, you really need to kind of rake the wood mulch. Now, stone, crushed red brick, things like that is fine because it can breathe. Mulch really can't breathe, and so the heat and the moisture is kept down in the mulch bed. You'll attract things like subterranean termites, carpenter ants. In fact, quick story, I had a customer one time who actually had a mulch company, a reputable mulch company, brought in like a whole dump truck full of mulch, and they put it all around her house and ended up importing three carpenter ant nests right in the mulch bed. So it's very possible to bring in an entire ant nest. And then, of course, when the ants are living around your house, they're inches away from coming in your house, so they'll just come right on in your house and start eating your food and things like that. So mulch is something that I try to tell people you really want to keep away from your house. You don't want it next to the wall, especially next to your foundation wall. I had a customer one time who had a mulch company came out, and they did some landscaping, and they actually ended up piling it up next to his T111 siding, and the termites came in. Now, he had his house treated for termites, but because they piled a whole bunch of mulch on top of the treatment, the termites started eating across the yard, making their way up that little mulch mound and got into his T111 siding and ended up getting into his wall studs and did some damage into his house. So I try to tell people you want to keep your mulch raked away from the wall about a foot or two. You can put like a little walk path of like pea gravel or something like that. Try to trim your hedges away from the wall of the house because they hold moisture against the house. They'll attract things like spiders and roaches and termites and stuff like that, so you want to keep them trimmed back so you can walk behind them. Typically what I tell people is you want to keep all of your brush, like your bushes and stuff like that, trimmed back at least 2 feet, so 2 to 3 feet, so that you can walk comfortably behind the bushes around your house. And that way the air can circulate properly and you won't have a lot of moisture buildup and bugs and stuff like that won't be living right next to your house. I feel like Jonathan, boy, I'm behind. Jonathan says, I feel like other communication to the customer is the best way to avoid issues. Set reasonable expectation and always follow up. Yeah, I believe, yeah, that's right. You're right, John. That's right. Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about, but I still haven't watched it. Yeah, my son is watching. I got his favorite movie since he was like, what, 5? Yeah. 4 or 5 years old? Was Jurassic Park. Now, a lot of people would think, I can't believe you let your 5-year-old watch Jurassic Park, but my daughter's watching Jurassic Park right now, and she's 5 too, but they love Jurassic Park. They love dinosaurs, They're not afraid of them. They think they're just great. And so they sit and they watch Jurassic Park. So they're watching the second one now, The Lost World. And but I bought him the whole trilogy, well, the early trilogy today at Walmart. They had it on sale, so I bought it for him, and they're watching it now. So that's why they're still up. Usually they're in the bed by now, but I told them it's Saturday night. I'll let them stay up and watch a movie. So David says it's all that cash in your wallet. You should put it in the bank. Oh, shit. I don't have any cash in my wallet. My wife, if I had cash in my wallet, you better shut up, man. You go have my wife raid my wallet, because she takes all the cash out of my wallet. James says, what are what are some of your favorites? I'm not sure what you're talking about. What some of my favorites? So you'll have to expand a little bit on that, James, because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Um, Jonathan says, I can attest to the bed bugs traveling between apartments. One of my biggest accounts is a large multi-story complex, and I perform at least 2 to 3 bed bug treatments each week. That's true, yeah. See, that's the thing. I've never been able to convince landlords. What I have found is, and this is something that I have found with a lot of, how do I explain this? All right, I've had customers for a long time. Some customers 19, 20 years. Just solid customers for a really long time. All right, you go to their house and you do regular monthly pest control. And it's a crack and crevice, interior and exterior foundation, and interior baseboards. That's basically what you're doing in the house. Okay, I had a lady that brought bed bugs home. Now, she had never had bed bugs. This was just last year. She's never had bed bugs. I've known her since I was literally like 7, 8 years old. I've known her my whole life. She's never had bed bugs. This is the first time she had them. She brought them in some luggage that's in her attic. Now, her attic is like actually like a bedroom. So you go upstairs into her attic space, and it's a whole bedroom up there, but she's got like a closet where she hangs like all of her clothes, out of season clothes. She's got some bins and stuff, and she keeps her suitcases up there. Okay, so she brought her suitcases up. Now, this is an area that I have treated for years, every month, religiously, baseboards in this upstairs room, because it's like a bedroom, even though she calls it her attic, but it's a bedroom upstairs. And I go up there every month as I go through and I treat the baseboards, and I'm treating her baseboards. And I go up there this month, this one visit, and I find that she has bed bugs dead all over the floor. And the only option is that, I mean, the other way that they could have been is they had to have come out of her suitcase from the trip that she had just taken. But the bed bugs all died. So I try to explain to people that the amount that you have to spend on a bed bug treatment, you're going to save money if you have regular pest control. Now, like I said, she's had pest control for years, but she could have paid for monthly pest control if she had, let's say she wasn't a regular customer, and she brought bed bugs in her home, and the bed bugs ended up infesting her bed, because right now they hadn't even gotten to her bed. They all died. Everything that came out of her suitcase died in the floor because they didn't have anywhere to go but in a treated area. So if she hadn't had regular pest control, then the bed bugs would have gotten downstairs. They would have gotten on her bed. They would have started biting her, and then it would have been a pain in the butt to get rid of the bed bugs. It ended up that she had not gotten any on her bed. She didn't have any in any bedrooms, none on her sofa. They were only isolated to the one room where the luggage was kept, because the bed bugs had nowhere to go except into a treated area. So if that isn't an advertisement for monthly pest control, I don't know what is. Now, my local rates, I don't know what anybody else charges, but the local rate here is very affordable. But when you compare that to like a bed bug treatment, you could get 2 to 3 years of regular pest control for the price of one bed bug treatment. So keep that in mind. If you're really on the fence about hiring pest control, it's the best time ever in the life of pest control to have just general use monthly pest control, because it's going to get rid of the bed bugs when they come in the house, and it's really effective for that. So Greg says termites are already swarming in Houston area, according to my coworker. I don't know if Harvey is going to make it a big year for us or a bad year. Yeah, it's been really pretty busy here. I've already found termites. I went and did a termite inspection on a house up in Northern Virginia, and found that I mean, they're doing some work to the house. They got a lot of brick and stuff all up next to the foundation, so you can't really do good, decent trenching or drilling or anything like that. So they've got a little bit of cleanup they need to do, but I've got to do that already. Termites are everywhere in that house, um, and that was just last week. So the termites are swarming here too. They're swarming out of the stumps and stuff in people's yards and everything too. I've seen them when you drive down the road. You know, you'll see them swarming out of a stump. Now right now it's kind of chilly, but last week when it got up to almost 80 degrees, we had a lot of swarmers here. Um, David says termites are swarming in San Antonio already. Also, a lot of pharaoh ants popping up. Yeah, pharaoh ants are here. They're here too. Odorous house ants as well. Sandra said we practically have the exterminator in the building 3 or 4 times a week. The super told me it would be 22,000 to do all the units for cockroaches only. Where do you live, Sandra? I'm gonna have to move where you live and start an exterminating company because that guy's getting a fortune for cockroaches. Greg says good to hear. Well, he's talking to David. Sandra says the bed bugs we have to pay ourselves. We have to pay ourselves. I have had the man here 2 times, and every couple of weeks I'm still getting bitten. Okay. So what I do for bed bugs is I treat mattresses and box springs, headboard, footboard, bed rails, and the feet, around the feet. I treat the baseboards. I treat any crack and crevice around windows. I have my customers remove their curtains, and I possibly treat curtain rods. Just depends on if the bed bugs are there or not. And so it's a very extensive treatment. And I tell my customers, expect to get bitten for 4 weeks. I'll be back next month. I'll spray again. Because what we're doing is we are drawing the bed bugs out so they are forced to crawl over the bed and get to you. Now, because I don't do heat treatments, and if you've watched my channel for more than 6-7 months, you know I don't do heat treatments. And the reason I don't do heat treatments is because the bed bugs typically, there's no residual with heat unless you're applying chemical as well. And I feel like if you're going to apply chemical, you might as well just apply chemical and just leave the heat out of it. And that's just my philosophy. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but that's my philosophy. So anyway, what I would recommend is, have an open, conversation with your exterminator. Find out what kind of headset am I using? I don't know. I have no idea. It was my wife's, so I borrowed hers. But anyway, like I was saying, have an open conversation with your exterminator. Find out what they're using. If you're continuing to get bit, you could always suggest something like Crossfire, Alpine, and just ask them if it's something that they could get and use. Crossfire, the reason I recommend Crossfire, it's a bedbug only chemical, but it's just really effective. I've just had such really good results with it. I just recommend it, and I can't recommend it enough. They don't pay me. I don't make any money. It'd be nice if I got a sponsorship from, MGK to sell their products, because I really wholeheartedly believe in Crossfire. Now, they sell some other products that are crap, but Crossfire is really good. And as long as they pump out chemicals like Crossfire, I'll support them all day long, because I use it. I use their stuff. Do you guys use PestPack, or what system do you use to send out quarterly invoices? Quarterly notices. I don't send out a quarterly notice. I might call certain customers, but I don't actually do, I will tell my customer when I come to their house. Now, I use GorillaDesk for all of my software, and it can send notices. It's got that ability. But the problem is that I don't want my customers I want them to put me down on their calendar and make a note to remember me coming, so they know when I come, because I put people on a regular pest control plan. So I go out to their house once a month, once every other month, or once every 3 months, and it's going to be on the same day, whether it's the first week of the month, second week of the month, third week of the month. I don't make special trips. I put them on a route. And if I have to do a reschedule, they have to let me know a month in advance, so then I can reschedule their day and do it on a different day. And that's just what I have written into my paperwork. And that way, your customer is going to remember that you're coming, and they'll make it a point to, you know, whether they leave the door open or you have a key or whatever, they know what day you're coming. Because I always schedule it for the same route day every month. So whether it's the first Monday or the second Monday or third Monday or, you know, so on, if you understand what I'm saying. Um, what are some of your favorite chemicals that you've had success with killing bed bugs? Crossfire and Alpine, WSG are really good. Back in the day, some of the better chemicals for bed bugs were like if you did general pest control with like Dursban, people never had bed bugs. So, you know, but you can't buy that anymore. Um, so yeah, I like Alpine and I like Crossfire. A couple of things that you can use for just general use pest control to try to keep your customers from being infested by bed bugs. Demon's really good. Bifenthrin, which Talstar, you know, but I prefer to use Demon. It's been around a little bit longer and it's got a little bit longer track record, and I think it lasts a little longer. It does good on a monthly residual. It kills other things longer than a month. It'll take care of like stink bugs and stuff like that. I've noticed that have died from it for 90 days. They're still dying from it. So it's pretty effective on other types of bugs. So I like Demon for general use. But when it comes to like bed bugs specifically, Crossfire is my go-to chemical, and Alpine also. Alpine, I like Alpine as well. In fact, I rotate them. Um, James says, like Crossfire, I have you in my favorite, so I can go back to the ones where you mentioned the chemicals you use. I just thought I would ask you now, no problem. Oh, yeah, that's no problem, James. Yeah, I don't mind answering your question. I answer the same questions, it feels like, every week. Whenever I get on here and I do a live stream, it's like the same questions pop up, and I answer the same questions every week. You could probably watch any one of my live streams, and it's like I'm a broken record over and over and over. So, um, David, how much does. Okay, so they're asking David a question. If I remove all my furniture in my apartment except from one floor bed and seal the walls with my apartment, will my apartment. Yeah, you can still get roaches. There are other ways roaches can get in your apartment. You can't possibly seal your apartment to keep roaches out if your neighbors have them. I'm guessing that was your question. If your neighbors have cockroaches, then they can come through the walls and get into, just like I was talking about bed bugs earlier, where the bed bugs will travel the wall voids and they'll travel the wires and stuff like that in the walls. Cockroaches do the same thing. Cockroaches are known to travel from unit to unit. Cockroaches are known to travel from house to house. If you I had a customer one time who she had never had cockroaches before. She called me on the phone one day and she said, look, you're supposed to come out here and inspect my house for termites. I think I've got termites in my kitchen. I've got bugs everywhere. Please come out here and take care of my termites. I went to her house and she had cockroaches. I sprayed her house for cockroaches, and I went around, I did the outside, and as I was going around the outside of the house to go under it to check it for termites, I opened the crawl space door, and about 2,000 or 3,000 roaches fell out from around the crawl space door. German cockroaches. And that's not normal. If you understand, German cockroaches don't typically live outside, especially in Virginia. I looked around behind me, and the house right beside hers, next door, had all of its windows open. And the first thought that entered my head is, oh, somebody done fogged the house and chased cockroaches. So I went next door, and I talked to the landlord who had just bought the house, and that place was infested. It was totally infested. There were dead roaches everywhere where they had set off foggers, live roaches, dead roaches. There was a rat sitting in the refrigerator eating the mold off of the freezer. It was a pretty bad situation, and so that just goes to show you that they will run from house to house. You know, they will get in. You can't possibly seal roaches out. The only thing you could do is kill them when they get in there. That's what you have to do. Um, oh yeah, my wife reminded me. We lived in a apartment complex. What was it, like 6 years ago? 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, and they had roaches next door. The unit had roaches because they had put boric acid out all around the outside and everything. And that's what I told my wife. I said, they got roaches next door. Well, we never had roaches, but I treated every month. I always treated my own apartment in order to keep the bugs away, because their exterminator, whoever they hired at that apartment complex, was just no good and just cheap. And I don't even think he ever came out to our unit, not one time. But every time he would apply boric acid, he'd put big old huge piles of it clumped up everywhere, all around the outside and everything. He just didn't know what he was doing. So, all right, let's see. I try to catch myself here. Sandra says, that was what he told me the cost would be for the roaches. There are 4 buildings in the complex with 21 floors, and there was never problems until the last 4 years. We have a good. Well, you know, he might be charging 22,000 and figuring on like a year. You could probably do that for a year, pest control. That would probably be fair, but that's really expensive. Whoever he hired, I'd have to see the units. But see, like I said, that's really relative on where you live. You know, the cost of living here is different than the cost of living in like D.C. or New York City, or you know, there's places where the cost of living is higher and lower, and depending on what your cost of living is on where you live, the price of chemicals, the price of pest control service is going to be higher because those people have to pay for their apartments they live in too. So, you know, just because the landlord said it's going to be $22,000, that might be cheap. You don't really know what the going rate is where you live. My friend, Crossfire, I order it on the internet. So let me show you. Let's see. All right. So here is, oh, well. How am I going to get this to you? Let me see here. There you go. There's Crossfire. I tell you what. Let's go here. Let's go to Amazon. All right, everybody has Amazon, right? What happened? Crossfire pesticide. There it is on Amazon. All right, you can order it on. Come on now, work for me. Why isn't this working for me? There. There's Crossfire. So you can find it. You know, you talk about it, finding it in Canada. There it is. There's Crossfire. That's on the internet. Now, you may not be able to get it shipped to you. I don't know. You could try and see if they'll ship it to you or not. But that's it. It's a 13-ounce bottle, $48.50. That's the price. And so you can order it on Amazon. That's 13 ounces. It's going to take that whole 13-ounce bottle now to kill your bed bugs. So understand it. It's 13 ounces to a gallon. That's how Crossfire is mixed. So it's pretty expensive. And that thing got moved too when I did that, all that moving around. But yeah, so understand that it's a little expensive as far as pesticide goes, but it's effective. You know, what are you gonna? You might either spend your money on something that's gonna work than spend your money on something that doesn't work. My friend threw every piece of furniture in her unit. She bought everything in plastic for a year. She finally rebought a year later. The bed bugs were gone. Yeah, I've heard of people having to do that, Sandra, where they just throw everything away and then they buy new stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Crossfire and Alpine, that's all you had to say. Have a good night. Okay, James, you too. Sandra, the units are 7 to 1,000 square feet. How much does GorillaDesk? Oh, well, now GorillaDesk is pretty affordable. It's $45 a month, and if you have your contracts built into it, it's what is it, 95? It's like $100 a month. But the thing is, you can have multiple techs if you pay $100. So you can have, you know, it's tiered, so you can have different people. Right now, I'm the only tech on there. But if I hire somebody else, I can give him his own account, and all of his customers go to his account, and so they'll have their special route set up for them, and they'll have all the chemicals are listed there and everything. It's a pretty cool system. I like it. You can get a trial version and try it. You know, we tried it before we bought it, but it's a really good system. I highly recommend GorillaDesk. It's the thing I like about it, I don't have to pay for a secretary because all the work is done immediately. So it's cloud-based. So basically the way it works, it's designed for pest control. That the system's designed for pest control. It's GorillaDesk.com. It's designed for pest control technicians. So what you do is you can put all of your pesticides in the list with all the EPA registration numbers and everything that you have to keep on your billing based on the law of your state. You get your WDI reports. All that stuff is put in to GorillaDesk as well. Now you do have to pay the $99 a month for to be able to use the forms they have, but you can do that. But see, now I just have my form printed out, so I still do those by hand. But that's mainly because I've got all of my contracts are in with my lawyer still. I'm trying to get all my wording done because I'm changing a little bit, and so I don't really want to put my contracts into GorillaDesk just yet until they're finished. But once all that stuff's done, then what GorillaDesk will do is it'll take my contract automatically and put everything in for me, so I don't have to have office, you know. So I'm doing all the office work myself. When I go to a house, I check in, so it monitors how much time you spend at a location. So if you've got a technician that you're you know, you say, well, why did it take you 10 minutes at this job? It should have taken you 20. It should have taken you 25 minutes. You were dealing with cockroaches. Why did it take you 10 minutes to do a job that should have taken you 25 minutes? Why were you out there on a termite job and you were done in a half an hour? You should have been there 3 hours. You know, what's going on? So it kind of gives you that ability. It's kind of like a nanny cam or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and if you pay $100 a month, then you have GPS and everything that will track. It'll track it for you. And so if the customer tries to say that, well, you never showed up, I don't have to pay you. Which, if you've been doing pest control long enough, there are people like that. Even though you showed up, they'll try to say you never were there. I've had it happen to me a lot. But then you can say, well, no, my guy was there because his GPS locator says he was there, and he was not only was he there, but he was there for 15 minutes. He was there for 25 minutes. This is how long we've got him there. So that's really nice with GorillaDesk. I really like that. It protects you. It protects you and it protects the customer, because then if the customer says, well, you know, your tech wasn't there, and you check and you find out, well, he wasn't there, that he was at McDonald's goofing off or something, well, then you can you know, approach your technician and say, well, you know, Mr. Smith expected you there. Why weren't you there? And he can tell you, well, I was. Well, then you can look back and say, well, no, you weren't. You're fired, or whatever. You're fired, like that. That's my best Donald Trump. Where can you spread? Everywhere. I'm not sure what you're asking, James. James says, where can you spread? Everywhere. I'm not sure what that question is. Hey, Rory. Are y'all going to watch the third one? You know, it's like 11 o'clock. Y'all need to be going to bed here. My kids, they are taking advantage of the fact that I'm doing a live stream on Saturday night, and they are watching all these movies and everything. They are really taking advantage of this.
Did you like that second one, Emma?
She's watching it. Do I find roaches disgusting? Well, I don't want to eat them. I don't think I'd kiss one. I find them pretty nasty, but I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to smack one either. You know, if I'm spraying a kitchen and they start crawling out everywhere around somebody's kitchen countertop or something like that, I've known to just smack them with my hand. And my customer will look at me gross like, I can't believe I killed a bug with my bare hand. And then I'll look at them and I say, well, I ain't charging for that one. That one was free because I didn't have to use any pesticide. So that's something that I do. I will wash my hands after every roach job, because, you know, typically you do get grime and grease and nastiness on your hands dealing with cockroaches. So I don't find them very appetizing. I'm not going to eat at a restaurant if it's infested with them. You know, if I go to a restaurant and I find that there's roaches, I used to frequent a McDonald's years ago. I used to frequent this McDonald's pretty regularly because I really like their fish fillet sandwich. And I'd be eating their fish fillet sandwich, and this one month I picked a seat next to the bathrooms, and I was sitting in a booth, and they had a piece of chair molding. Think it's called chair rail molding, and it goes right around the middle of the wall, and there was some little baby cockroaches that crawled out from around that piece of chair molding, and I never went back. I gave them my card, and I told them they should hire me to get rid of their roaches, because whoever they had working for their cockroach, you know, problem wasn't really doing a very good job, because the bathrooms were, well, if you ever been in a McDonald's, you know the bathrooms are way away from the kitchen. So they shouldn't have really had any roaches back there, but they did. But it was in the booth. actually in the dining room. So yeah, I don't like roaches. I hate roaches. If I had to pick a bug I hated the most, would probably be fleas, bed bugs. That would be the one I hate the most, and mainly because I just don't like the idea, the thought of bringing bed bugs home with me, and when I go in to do a flea job, the fleas eat me alive. So, so you don't use Univar or Target or Oddham, you just order online. Univar, all right, the reason that I give out Univar would be who I would use. I don't really need a lot of bulk pesticides. So, if I need something quick, I usually do not order from Univar. I usually order from someone local. The do your own pest control. I know a lot of people like to talk bad about them in the pest control industry, and the only reason that I use them is if I need something tomorrow, because they've always been really good at getting to the pesticide to me right away. Um, Hold on just a minute. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I would use Univar though if I were to use any of them. I really like them. I used to use Residex a while back. I know my dad used Residex for a while. He uses Univar too. And so personally, I would probably use Univar. And if there was a Univar rep out there and they contacted me, I'd probably use them. But the problem is, I just don't. Once you buy your chemicals, being that I'm just a single guy, I'm not really doing an awful lot of work, not more than I can handle. I really don't need to order a lot of pesticides, and you really only save money with a big group like that as if you order, a big shipment and you're getting, a whole bunch of stuff delivered to you at once. So I don't know, I don't, Greg. Let's see here. Wow, there's still 8 people in here. I come in here on a Saturday night, everybody shows up. Last week I was here Friday night and I only had 2 people show up. So got 8 people in here tonight. If you think about it, like the video, it helps the channel a whole lot. Okay, yes, I use Univar, and more specifically Pest Web. Now, Pest Web, that's how I got my license one year, because I had to get it renewed, and we were late, and we ended up not being able to get in with Residex, who does they do a lot of our um, license renewals here, and we forgot, didn't get in with them, and so I did I got my license renewed with Pest Web. They're pretty good. Um, let's see, Rafik says, ironically, UN recommends that we eat bugs. Well, that's good reason not to follow UN recommendations, because I don't think I want to eat bugs. The thing is, if I were living in Somalia and all I had to eat were bugs, I'd probably eat bugs because I want to eat something. But I don't have to eat bugs, so I don't eat bugs. If it's all I had to eat, I would probably eat bugs. And that's just mainly a survival thing. But I don't want to be eating bugs if I don't have to eat bugs. So that's where I stand on it, Rafik. I know there are people all across the world, probably a majority of the population eats bugs because, well, that's all they've got. But I'd like to eat a salad. I'd eat a salad or something before I ate cockroaches. So. So for any more questions, if there aren't any more questions, I think I'm going to call it a night. We've been on for about an hour. I try to keep these shows where people can kind of get their little pieces. I usually, one thing too that I do, for those that, I should have probably said this at the beginning when everybody's going to watch it, but I go back through after this video is uploaded the next day, and I add little, they're like little, we call them, is it this finger? No, it's this finger. Up there on that corner, all the way up in that corner, a card will come up. Now, I can put a maximum of 5 cards in every video. And so I will go through the video and I will pick little points. Like if I talk about Crossfire, I will actually put a link in the video to Crossfire or a video about Crossfire so that you can find the information that you need later that I've actually done more in-depth videos about. Like I did ants last week. I actually have ant videos that I link to and things like that. So if you ever need anything like that, you could fast forward through my video. It's usually about every 15 minutes or so. I'll put a card in, kind of trying to link to something to try to give people more information, because you can't get but so much on a live stream. You're not going to get the kind of information that I do in like a 15 to 20 minute long video about a specific subject. So if you need to go back through and look at them, you can. Greg says, what's your opinion of Naturecide? I've heard of that before. I've got to look that up again, though, but I can't remember. There's so many chemicals, I can't remember. Oh, it's a brand. Oh, isn't that the stuff that uses soy? I think that's the stuff that uses soy. Olive oil. And what is it? What is it? Oh, ingredients. Clove oil, cottonseed oil, glycerin. Wow, it looks like the ingredients of potato chips. Soap and water. That will probably kill bugs, but I don't think it would work as a residual at all. Because the reason I say so, all right, the reason soap kills bugs, and I actually went through this on one of my videos about stink bugs. A lot of my customers will use dish soap to kill stink bugs. They'll take a cup of water or a bottle, like a water bottle, and they'll fill it half full of water. They'll put a couple drops of Dawn, and when they drop a stink bug in it, the stink bug dies. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, wow, that Dawn's really poisonous. Look at the way it killed that bug. But actually what's happening is the soap is clogging their pores of their skin, the way that they breathe. And so if they can't breathe, they suffocate. And that's how soap kills bugs. This has soap in it. Naturecide is just soap. So it's going to kill bugs with soap. It's got some oils and stuff in it too, but they're both going to work in the same way. They're going to suffocate the insect. And the problem with that is you're not going to have a residual that's going to outlast anything like a pesticide will. And, I mean, you're going to have to apply it all the time. You're going to have to constantly use it. And if you're doing, you know, regular pest control for people, then if you start going in, you know, telling your customer, well, I've got to come in every week and reapply this stuff, it starts to get pretty expensive, and you can't be I mean, you got to make a living. You can't work for free. So Greg says, yeah, they give you a Residex polymer film to mix with that. I don't know if that's just a snake oil thing or what. Well, I mean, it probably does kill bugs, but I think it's only going to kill them on contact. I don't think you're going to get any kind of residual with soap. That's just, I mean, that's just the way it is. Your soap is only going to go so far. And what happens when somebody mops the floor, or what happens when somebody, you know, it's not going to last forever. You're not going to have any residual with soap that you're going to have with an oil. I mean, I imagine it would stain horribly, because you go and you start treating around somebody's baseboards or something with it, and then you spray their curtains or something like that. It's going to stain the curtains because it's got oil in it. It's not a good idea to use it. I wouldn't use it at all. But like I said, there's so many pesticides on the market. A lot of these chemicals like Naturecide, cedarwood oil, all these different things that are coming out on the market now, they really have, they're really targeted towards people who are afraid of pesticides. But a lot of that fear has to do with miseducation. The truth is that most of your chemical pesticides are not going to hurt you. Everybody has, it's this whole conspiracy theory thing out there now where everybody's afraid that the pharmaceutical companies are trying to kill you, the government's trying to kill you, everybody's trying to kill you. But pesticides kill bugs. Pesticides are to kill bugs. And yes, if you misapply them, you might make yourself sick. But if you don't properly clean with bleach, you'll make yourself sick. If you mix bleach and ammonia together, you'll kill yourself. You know, there are things out there that are more harmful to humans than pesticides. But black widows kill people every year. They kill the elderly, and they kill infants. They kill babies, toddlers. They get out and they play on their little play equipment. They get bit by black widows. People bring in firewood during the winter. Black widows come out on the firewood. They bite people. People die from black widow bites. I don't know of anybody that's really died from like demon pesticide when it's mixed properly and it's used properly. I don't know anybody that's died from it. Not in the last year, but there are people that have died from black widow bites in the last year. So, you've got to kind of pick. I think you're going to do better with pesticide than you are with bug bites, personally.
Clove oils and the different oils have so many effects that we don't even know about. Like, they're just beginning to find out now.
It's mainly for the outside and to use with the polymer film. I tried it. It was not impressed with it. Yeah, I'll tell you one. Let me show you. If I can bring this up. My father bought this stuff. This is I'm going to talk bad about this chemical. And oh man, it's probably a different label now and everything. Aerosol. There we go. There it is. Okay. Oh, why can't I select it? EcoSmart. Okay. So this is one of those examples that I was going to give you about. Oh, let's see, it's safe. It says right on it that it's safe. Safe, I can't read that. Safe around children and pets. Okay, so they're using this belief that, oh, this is water. Just water. But they give people the belief that, other pesticides are harmful, but this is safe. You could use this. It's safe for children and pets. That is the nastiest stuff I have ever used as a pest control technician. EcoSmart. My father bought a whole case of this back when I was like 15. He bought, now a case of this comes with 12 cans in a box. There is still 10 cans in that box. Oh, actually, I was probably 17 because I had my own can, so I had my own route. So I had a can in my truck, and he had a can in his truck, and there's still 10 cans in the box, and I'm 36 years old. You go in somebody's house and you start using that stuff around in their cabinets, around in their cracks and crevices and stuff, and trying to chase out roaches, and you got snot coming from every pore on your skin. It's so nasty. Your eyes are watering. They get bloodshot. You start dripping snot out of your nose. You're just crying practically applying this stuff because it's just horrible. And then you're trying to explain to your customer, and now I'm going to close that because that's irritating. You're trying to explain to your customer that what you're doing is safe and it's not going to harm them, and here you are watering from every hole on your face. That's crazy. And I personally, I have much better results. I don't get nearly the reaction from, allergic reaction from any other pesticide. In fact, I don't have any allergic reaction to any other pesticides I use at all. But that stuff right there, it's awful. It's awful stuff. And you're using that stuff around your customers, and it's like, it's not good. And it doesn't kill bugs. The roaches look at you and laugh. You spray it on them, and they don't die from it. They don't die from it at all. So, I'm not, yeah, Dale Gribble. Yeah, he is, isn't he? Greg. Oh, damn it, Bobby. So anyway, that stuff EcoSmart is bad. Wow, it seems like it gets into your sinuses and pores. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, you're right. Westwood's right. That stuff is so nasty. It's the worst thing you could ever buy. And my dad got sold a case because one of our customers, he actually was a sales rep for them. And so he bought a whole lot of stuff from him because he was a customer anyway, and he figured, well, he could get a real good deal on it because it's a customer, and he bought it, and we tried it, and it was awful, and we've never tried it since. It's awful stuff. It's the worst chemical. It is really bad. And it's called a organic. It's an organic antique and roach killer, and it's just not. It doesn't kill roaches. If it kills roaches, it kills them because they get old and they die naturally. That's what antique means, I guess. It says it kills ants, roaches, crickets, pillbugs, silverfish, and other crawling insects. Works fast, kills on contact. So it only kills on contact, but I never was able to kill anything. But it says right on it, no EPA registration is necessary. See, that's one of the biggest problems is when you get into pesticides that have no EPA registration. Now, a lot of people in the industry complain about EPA, and they complain about the laws you have to abide by, and the all of the different things you have to do as a pest control technician, and all of the safety equipment you have to wear, and all the paperwork you have to keep. But when you really think about it, the fact that everything is registered, in order for the chemicals to be registered and allowed to be used, they have to go through rigorous training, rigorous testing. And here's something right here that's not even registered through the EPA. You don't know how effective it's going to be because it's never been tested. It's never been approved by the EPA. It says all ingredients are 100% safe. How do you know that? It's never been approved. They can just say that, stamp it on the label, say it's safe. Hey, you don't know if it's safe or not. You don't know if the combination of those chemicals together or the combination of the ingredients together cause allergic reactions or what. Because I tell you what, it caused allergic reaction with me. It's the worst thing I've ever applied. So, that's one thing you've got to understand. And I was talking to a customer about this the other day too. When it comes to pest control, a lot of people have gotten into their head that, well, all right, so you've got PETA and you've got cruelty to animals. These are two of the things that the pest control industry has to deal with, because a lot of times when you have a dog pound, because people aren't properly taking care of their pets, so you end up with a lot of stray and stray cats and dogs end up going to the pound. The pound doesn't always euthanize every animal that comes sent into the pound. A lot of times they'll take the pets and they'll put them in cages and they'll ship them off to, well, here in Virginia, they ship them to Virginia Tech. And then Virginia Tech, because they're a big research facility for pesticides, they take a lot of pesticides, like they may be doing, bear products one week, and they'll give the animals, dogs and cats, doses of this pesticide in order to achieve the LD50 value that's on every pesticide that's approved by the FDA has to have an LD50 value. So, and what that is, for those that don't know, an LD50 value, they have a target number of animals, whether it's dogs, cats, rats, whatever, and they'll give them a percentage of concentrate until they kill 50% of that animal. Okay, so now they give it to all of the animals, and the 50%, when they kill up to 50%, no more, no less, then the 50% that survive, they monitor their results, and they tell, what kind of reactions the animals have had or whatever. And, of course, the animals that die, too, they have all this paperwork based on how the animals reacted to the pesticide. And that's how you know if a chemical is safe to use around children or pets, because the chemical has been used on pets. Now, there are animals that were in the pound that nobody wanted, that it could have been feral or whatever, like feral cats that nobody would want to have because they're mean and they'll bite you and they'll scratch you and they'll hurt you, and they'd be euthanized anyway. And so instead they send them up and they do testing on them, so then when you have your own pet in your house, you know that that chemical can be safely used at the dose you're using it because it's not going to harm your pet. That's how they know. And as horrible as that sounds, a lot of people hate that, hearing that, because they want to use I would rather use stuff that wasn't ever tested on pets. But if it isn't tested around pets, how are you going to know that it's safe to use around your own pets? And that's part of the whole, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You have to understand that there are things that are safe to use around your pet, and the reason we know it's safe is because they've done this testing. So, but Greg's going. I just noticed that he said he was leaving. Well, good night, Greg. If you're still here, I don't know if you are or not. It's been about 5 minutes since he said that. So. EcoSmart does it does. It stinks. It smells like bug spray, but it's awful stuff. Awful, hateful stuff. Hate it. Well, I'm going to head on out for the night. You guys have a really great week. I appreciate it. Now, recognize it's going to be on Saturday nights now is when I'm going to start scheduling my streams from now on. So it's Saturday nights. Look for me around 10 o'clock. I know tonight I was a little late coming in at 10:15, so I was a little late tonight. I've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes. Like my video, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you see when I'm live. And I'll see you guys next week on the Bedbug Show. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.